Testing, 1, 2, testing. I should wear these because what I hear in here will be what they hear on YouTube when they're watching.
You know the volume level and all that.
Testing, 1, 2, testing.
not sure. Sure if it's in there. Unless we can memorize it. Okay, we'll skip that one.
With a little interlude composed by one of my musicians in the band. Thank you.
Well, let's give them a wonderful hand. Let's go like this. Yes.
Thank you.
So, my dear friends, a very heartfelt welcome to you on this monsoony morning. Please know your presence is truly a blessing. Let's do one chant. Since I'm a chant junkie, we have enough people here. How about Allahu Allah? And just remember this, that when we praise God, God doesn't become holy. We become sacred and holy. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Just the beloved women, please. Just the beloved men. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Once softly. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. Twice aloud. Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah, Allahu Allah. And becoming very still and being open to the glow of presence. Thank you. our beloved co-founder, Reverend Karen Lindquist. I can hold this, I can put this here.
Beloved. We're all beloved. Thank you for being here, beloveds. And think of that. Think of the beloveds who came before us and why we are here through this beauty of belovedness. So we have a couple of things that we do for every service where we create sacred space. And we do that by honoring our ancestors or calling in our ancestors and honoring our first peoples. And then we have an offering for the Divine Feminine. So, beloveds, I invite us into gratitude. And I have a simple prayer to read in gratitude. I thank you for allowing me to wake up this morning. I thank you for my breath. I thank you for my body. I thank you for my journey. I thank you for those who brought me into the world. I thank you that all basic necessities are met on a daily basis. Sunlight, water, food at my table, and clothing on my back. My home, my mobility, my job. And for those who lack these things, we honor them. I thank you for my family. I thank you for my community. I thank you for my comrades, my friends, my beloveds. I thank you for my elders. I thank you for those who will follow after us. May we create a beloved space for them. And so now we move into honoring our first peoples. And I have a prayer for that too. So think of the first peoples who lived on this land, the Coast Salish land. And as Siswinclay Laurel Boucher teaches us here, that the people of the land here are water people. O Great Spirit, God of all people and every tribe, through whom all people are related, call us to the kinship of all your people. Grant us vision to see. Grant us vision to see through the love of justice, the love of belovedness. Grant us the vision to see what's true. Grant us the vision to see what can be. Grant us the vision to see what will be through our love and our efforts. And now think of the Divine Feminine, those you know who are in feminine form, and those who nurtured you through their feminine form. And imagine there's a balance of feminine form and masculine form in the energies of the universe. And we call her out, O Divine Mother. Break the dawn and show thy face of light. Break the sun and show thy face of love and power. Break the night and show thy mooned face. Break my thoughts and shower me with thy wisdom. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Karen. You know, I forgot something very important. I'll fix it right now. You know, before we start, I'm supposed to ring this bell, so I shall now do it right now and make it retroactive. So now you're officially convened. Congratulations. So, my dear friends, once again, a very, very heartfelt welcome to you. Today, the topic is cleansing the heart, and I can add to that also, because of the purity, the cleansing, opening up the heart, creating an inner spaciousness within. So let me tell you what Islam says about the heart, which is, by the way, mentioned 132 times in the Quran. What I find that splashes in my heart about the heart is that the Quran says Allah is Zahir and Batin, meaning outside of you, manifest, every so way you turn is the face of Allah, but also hidden inside of you. And hidden where? This is the magical part. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he had a dream where God says in the dream and says, please convey this to humanity. Something you have heard many, many times. Allah says, I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart. So this space of the heart is actually magical. Not just in Islam, many traditions. For example, if you study Taoism, Lao Tzu said in Taoism, which is 6 centuries before the birth of Christ, peace be upon Jesus, Lao Tzu says, when you purify the heart and also bide in silence, meaning do some spiritual practices also regularly, then the book Tao Te Ching says, then the spirit of the Tao makes its home in you. And where in you? In your heart. So just become very aware this is a very special place. You know, the Quran says, the heart never falsified what it saw. The heart never falsified what it saw. Of course, it has to be a pure heart. It has to be a heart that's cleansed, purified. It has to be a heart that is open, that has an inner spaciousness. That is why the Prophet Muhammad said, no matter who tells you anything about anything, especially the religious judge, who, by the way, the women sarcastically call the bearded assembly, when they force some injunctions on you, and the reason is all of the interpretations of the Quran and all the injunctions are usually by the bearded assembly. And the Prophet Muhammad knew this danger would happen. So he said, no matter if the religious judge tells you something about an earthly matter, always, and he repeated this again and again and again, consult your heart. Consult your heart. Consult your heart. But of course, it has to be a heart that is pure, that is clean, that is opened up. As I said, the Quran mentions the heart 132 times. So let me take the first verse of the Quran, which resonates in me. It's a simple verse, says, purify your heart. And if you say, well, what does that mean? So the Quran goes on to explain. If you have a negative thought, an evil thought, if you engage in evil behavior, some wrongdoing, you know what happens, says the Quran? Metaphorically, it creates a rust. The word is rust, a stain upon the heart. This is from the Quran. So, for me, there are a lot of stains on the heart. So, what happens? Then it mangles my thinking, it distorts my behavior, my actions. I get further away from the light, as it were. The light becomes more dim because there's a rust on my heart. So what do? Prophet Muhammad was asked, what do you do? And what did the Prophet Muhammad say? Prophet Muhammad said, for every rust, there is a polish, and the polish for the rust of the heart is remembrance of God. The polish for the rust of the heart is remembrance of God. So when people asked, what does that mean? Well, the great mystics say, polish your heart with God solvents. Polish your heart with God solvents. And you know best what is a God solvent or solvents for you? Patience, speaking the truth, being humble, being forgiving, being loving, being compassionate. But polish the heart, metaphorically. Every hour, every day, every week, every month, every year. It's a continuous lifelong work, which is why Prophet Muhammad said, every day you set out in the course of your life, every single day, you're either ennobling, enriching your heart, or you are suppressing your soul. Because every day we have choices to make. Rumi says, this is not easy work. So his famous words are, Jamal, if you get irritated by every rub, how will the mirror of your heart ever be polished? If you get irritated by every rub, how will the mirror of your heart ever be polished? And why do you want to polish the heart metaphorically? It's because a polished heart reflects the face of Allah. A polished heart, because it reflects the face of Allah, we begin to feel what is called, when the heart is pure, it's cleansed, it's opened up, we begin to experience what the mystics call the glow of presence. Rumi calls it something, Jamal, you've always wanted in your life. And what is that? So his famous words are, there is a kiss we want all our lives from divinity. There's a kiss we want all our lives, a touch of spirit on the body. The glow of presence. By the way, I love this beloved female sage in Islam, Rabia. You can Google, you can use Uncle Google. Who is Rabia? R-A-B-I-A, 8th, 9th century. And the mystics about her say that she said, one day he kissed me. One day he kissed me. Divinity kissed me. One day he kissed me. And he did not leave. And that is a source of my joy, my devotion to God, my love for God, my happiness in life. One day he came and kissed me and did not leave. So just be with it and ask yourself, what are the God solvents that I need in my life? I love metaphors. So, for example, we all need to be patient. So what are the verses about patience in the Islamic spiritual literature? The patience shown by the moon to the dark night. The patience shown by the moon to the dark night is what keeps it radiant. The patience shown by the rose to the thorn is what keeps it fragrant. So there is patience. Am I patient? What do I need to do to be more patient? Am I truthful? All the sages have said, and even contemporary psychologists and psychiatrists say, Jamal, be careful if you say I speak the truth, because usually I'm not speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth of convenience. Just be with that. Am I speaking the truth or the truth of convenience? Am I living the truth or is it truth of convenience? Humility. By the way, I love this saying about humility. Pure is the one who has purified oneself of the notion of one's own purity. Pure is the one who has purified oneself of the notion of one's own purity. Can I be humble? I must mention love. Now, I love the words of Rumi. There is no need to seek love. Our basic nature is love, compassion. It's the core of our being. He says there is no need to seek love. Jamal, only become aware of the obstacles, the inhibitions that you have put in the path of love. There's no need to seek love. It's our basic nature. Just become aware of the obstacles, the inhibitions, the impediments I have put on the way of love, on the journey of love, on the path of love. Okay, the Quran, another verse in the Quran says, bring to God a sound heart. And the mystics say, Jamal, everything you have comes from God, from divinity. What can you offer God? Nothing except a pure heart and a sound heart. A sound heart, the mystics say, it's about when you take your heart to God, look inside your heart. Rumi says, it's like you're carrying a bag. Anything you don't want to look at, any wrongdoing, you just put it in the bag. You want to avoid it. You deny it. Your bag gets heavier and heavier. This is the bag of your heart as you journey towards God. In fact, Robert Bly borrows this metaphor from Rumi, who says, we all have this bag. It's a burden on the heart. Rumi says, before you reach your righteous sovereign, God, look inside your bag. Whether what you're carrying to God is bitter or sweet. If it's bitter, remove it. Ask yourself, is it worth bringing to my righteous sovereign? And redeem yourself from fruitless effort and fruitless disgrace. Put inside your heart, the bag of your heart, you might say, only that which is worth bringing to a righteous sovereign. The Prophet Muhammad was actually asked, are there some specific traits that I need to look at, remove, let go of? And Prophet Muhammad said 3 things. There are many things, but 3 things he said in his opinion was very important. One is pride and arrogance. He said that's the biggest cause of the downfall of humanity. Pride and arrogance. Second one is greed. Third one is jealousy. And he mentioned a 4th one. Quite often he would say, your anger. Righteous anger is beautiful, it's powerful, it motivates you to righteous action. But if it's not bridled, if it's not reined in, it can destroy you and destroy others. In fighting injustice, I might myself become unjust. In fighting extremism, I might myself become extreme. Okay, just be with that for a few moments. The 3rd verse about the heart I love very much is simple one. Oh God, is a prayer. Open for me my heart. Open for me my heart. Because my heart is clenched with biases, prejudices, also clenched with the pain I experience in life, the anguish, the suffering I experience in life. I don't want to experience that. I clench my heart as if the pain will go away. I might numb my heart. I feel my pain less now because I've numbed it. But because it is clenched, I am less able to experience joy, passion, love, intimacy, because there's not enough space in my heart. Which is why in Islamic mysticism, a most powerful exercise, which we talk about again and again and again in our sermons here, is, Brother Jamal, embrace not only your 10,000 joys of life, but also your 10,000 sorrows of life. Your suffering in life, the anguish in life, because we're bound to experience suffering. It is inevitable. It's a world of opposites. Every tradition talks about it. In fact, if you study Buddhism, the first noble truth is, please accept the fact, the inevitable fact, that yes, there is suffering in the world. You will experience suffering. Accept it. It's okay. It's a world of opposites. Islamic mystics say, because it is inevitable, when it happens, don't run away from it. Any difficult feeling I experience in my life, and this is the amazing part, is exactly what I need in my life. And we all have a story. We all have different circumstances. The difficult feelings that I experience in my life are exactly what we need to become a more complete, a more developed, a more evolved human being. So if I exclude it, deny it, avoid it, it'll come back again and again and again and again. And that is what is called, the great teachers say, a crisis in life. All that we have avoided and denied, it comes back in the form of a crisis. And this is what the mystics say, is the universe's compassionate way of forcing me to look at that which I was denying or avoiding. Therefore, it's wonderful to do this practice, what we call sacred holding, difficult feeling. Where do I feel it? Just be with it. Just be with it. Acknowledge it, heal it, and integrate it. That's why we have said this again and again. We know from experience, if I do this work, my anger becomes transformed into an inner enthusiasm. My fear into a greater mindfulness. My sadness into a greater empathy. That's why I love to quote Carl Jung, who studied many Eastern traditions. He said, would you once in your life have the courage and the grace to kiss the demons and dragons within you? Because that is how they turn into a prince or princess. And one thing about this I want to tell you, which every great teacher tells us, Brother Jamal, don't run towards pain and suffering, just don't run away from it. Remember the Christian mystic Khalil Gibran, that Lebanese mystic who wrote The Prophet? He said, the more that sorrow carves into your being, the more that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy it can contain. That's why Rumi says, the dark thought, the shame, the malice, greet them at the door laughing, because each one has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I repeat, don't run towards pain and suffering, just don't run away from it. Just be with that for a few moments. Am I giving myself permission to kiss the suffering, the difficult feelings that are inevitable? And if I do, that creates more space, more spaciousness for love to flow in, joy to flow in, passion to flow in. You know, currently I'm teaching a class from this book called The Book of Joy. Anybody read that book, The Book of Joy? It's by Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama. And they both agree that suffering is inevitable, is bound to happen in your life. But the question is, the important question is, how are you, they call it reframing your suffering. Are you allowing your suffering, I'm quoting them, to ennoble you, enrich you, or embitter you? And he says, this is the crucial part, they say, this ability or inability, this work of whether it enriches me, ennobles me, or it embitters me, this work defines who you are in your life. And number two, defines the destiny of your life. How I deal with suffering. So just to bring it, this part, and I'll be quick about the other parts I want to speak about. So what do I do? Number one, compassionate self-witnessing. Observe yourself. What is it you need? Number two, embrace your 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows of life. A simple technique, the Sufis say, if Allah is inside of you, if Krishna, Elohim, Buddha nature is inside of you, tell your heart as often as possible, I love you. Just tell your heart as often as possible. In your meditative time, in your waking hours, I love you, I love you. This will polish the heart. Tell your heart, I'm so thankful, thank you, thank you, thank you. And one more technique, from the heart, send out light and love through intention. Anybody you meet, a stone, a tree, an animal, a person you don't like, tell yourself, I'm sending it to that person's soul, not their personality. But as you intend to send out light and love, something opens up in you. It opens up the heart. So much more space for joy, passion, intimacy, life to flow in. Okay, enough of that. Just be very still. Two more points I want to make, and I'm watching the time. One is this: in Islam, this month is called the month of Rajab. It means respect or reverence. And many things happen in this month. It's a very holy month. Just one aspect I'll take of that. It was in this month, some say yesterday, some say yesterday it happened. In the 7th century, that the Prophet experienced, and the Quran talks about it, a very mystical experience called the night journey. And the Prophet was confused. Is this really happening, or is it a vision? But he found himself from Mecca being transported horizontally all the way to Jerusalem. And from Jerusalem, he found himself being transported vertically into the 7 levels of heaven, which validates that amazing idiom, I am in 7th heaven. You see? So, what was the vision? And that's mentioned in the Quran. The other part is not mentioned, but it's part of Islamic tradition, that the Prophet was transported horizontally and vertically, mounted on a magical steed between a mule and a donkey, that transported the Prophet horizontally, I repeat, and vertically. But what is amazing is the face of that magical steed, which did this magical journey, was the face of a woman, female. This is very important in Islam. It's almost like it requires the divine feminine energy for making a sacred, celestial, fruitful, creative journey in the bazaar of life, horizontal, as also in the celestial realms. You will note, those of you who attend sermons here, that chapter 19 of the Quran, which is titled Maryam, or Mary, peace be upon her, mother of Jesus. In the Quran it says she suffered birth pangs, and she gave birth to Jesus, peace be upon him. And the Islamic mystics say, we all of us, all of humanity, we all have to, in our lifetime, give birth to our inner Jesus. This is an Islamic insight from that chapter called Maryam. But the mystics point out, have you not noticed that it requires the womb of a Mary to give birth to your inner Jesus? It requires those divine feminine qualities of compassion, love, forbearance, creativity, which inspired Rumi to utter. Rumi mostly uttered, didn't write. He used to go into a trance and just utter. His utterance was, woman is a ray of God. Woman is a ray of God. She is not your earthly beloved. Woman is a ray of God. She is not your earthly beloved. She is creative, not created. She is creative, not created. And this is based also on verses of the Quran. One verse of the Quran says, revere, respect, revere Allah. And the very next verse is, and revere the wombs that bore you. And revere the wombs that bore you. This is a very important point. You see, the men from every tradition have boasted to women, the crown of prophethood has always been put on the heads of men. The belt of nobility has always been put around the waists of men. But it is the womb of women that gave birth to these men. And the face of the Burak, it's called, that steed, is the one, that magical steed that guides humanity in the horizontal and vertical levels. Okay, one aspect of this horizontal and vertical journey of the Prophet Muhammad is, the horizontal journey is the bazaar of the world, our work in the visible world, taking care of our body, earning a livelihood. And the vertical one is the work we do in the invisible world. Prayers, meditation, sunsets, music, nature. Rumi says, work equally hard in the visible world as in the invisible world. He says this is the secret to life. About engaging yourself in the visible world, I love the words actually of Thich Nhat Hanh, that Buddhist master who passed away recently, who says, the miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on land. Am I present as I engage in the bazaar of life? My mortgage problems, mother-in-law, father-in-law problems, this, that, these are normal problems that will happen. Am I engaged? But am I also engaged in the invisible world? I'm feeding my body, I'm earning a livelihood, but am I also nurturing, feeding, nourishing my soul? I need that desperately. Otherwise, I'm leading an imbalanced life. And particularly, don't run away from the invisible world. Rumi has his beautiful saying, flee not the invisible world. Flee not the invisible world, for it is a place of income. And this visible world, this place of more or less, is a place of expenditure. Flee not the invisible world, for it is a place of income. And this visible world, this place of more or less, is a place of expenditure. So just be with it. Am I working equally hard in the visible and invisible world? Okay, last point. Our soul, our heart feels such joy, such fulfillment when I engage in acts of service. In fact, all the traditions say, Jamal, why are you here on planet Earth? Two things. Every tradition agrees. I'm here to become a more evolved, a more complete human being, more Christ-like, Buddha-like, Elohim-like, Krishna-like, Allah-like. It's a lifetime of work. That's one half of my work. The other half is to engage in what the Quran calls righteous deeds. Righteous deeds. Righteous deeds. Act of service to God's magnificent creation. So, if I want to make my heart pure, if I want to open my heart, if I want to infuse my heart with joy, can I also be of service? And the Quran says, if you're engaged in acts of service of giving, there are some gateways. The first one is, give freely of what you love. That's real giving. Give freely of what you love. Your time, your energy, your resources. Give freely of what you love. The second verse in the Quran says, to those who ask and those who cannot ask. The third verse in the Quran is, give quietly, if possible. Quietly, without making a show. And it goes on to say, and this will atone for some of your wrongdoings. And the last one, a very important one, because this is in every tradition, do it for the sake of Allah, for seeking the countenance of Allah. And as all the other traditions explain, Islam also explains in great detail, not because you're attached to the fruits of the service, meaning the prestige it brings you, the money it brings you, the fame it brings you, the titles it brings you. You're doing it because for the sake of spirit. If you study Hinduism, I love that verse in Hinduism. It says, "Oh son of Kunti, oh daughter of Kunti, make this an offering to me. Make this an offering to me." And to know that the heart feels such joy in being of authentic service, to be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder. I'm quoting Rumi here. To be a lamp, a lifeboat, or a ladder to others, to help someone's soul heal. The heart feels such joy, which is why you've heard me say many, many times that wonderful poetry by Rabindranath Tagore. I hope you know it by heart, some of you. I slept and dreamt life was what? Anybody remember? Life was joy. I slept and dreamt life was joy. I awoke and found life was service. I served, and lo, service was joy. Today we have some wonderful people here who are servants of service, some Turkish friends who are pouring out their hearts in being of service to the great tragedy in Turkey and Syria. You might ask, as many people ask from different traditions, and interesting, the same story exists in many different traditions. The question asked is, oh God, you're all compassionate, all aware. Why do you allow this terrible tragedy to happen? And the story is a pious person travels the world and is so heartbroken, sees so much of cruelty, so much of injustice, so much of pain. And finally, there's an earthquake, and there's a little orphan child whose limbs are severed and is lying on the street, totally abandoned. And the pious man breaks down, and the man or woman, you don't know, just breaks down, gets on his or her knees and says, "Oh God, please do something. You are God, do something. God, do something." And as you know how the story goes, that night in a vision, God appears and says very tenderly, "Beloved one, I did do something. I created you. I created you." The other story, which is both in Christianity and Islam, is where God tells the son of Adam, "Oh, son of Adam, you did not come and visit me." "Visit you? I always pray to you." "No, I was sick, and you did not come and visit me." And the son of Adam is absolutely bewildered, fumbles for words, and begins to stutter. My Lord, you're the king, you're the Lord of the lords of the lords. How can you be sick? How can you be sick? And God replies, "When one of my servants is sick, I am sick. When you offer help, love, medicine, relief to my servant, you're offering it to me." So today we have our servants of service. You have some items for sale, and the money goes directly to the survivors in Turkey. Please be gracious. So I have not been gracious with time. I always go over time, but I'm always compassionate. Brother Jamal, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You'll do better next time. That's one of my self-witnessing things to learn. Don't overdo it. Okay, I don't want to give a sermon on that. So let's become very still and do a very short meditation. Close your eyes. And then focus on your nostril and just be present with your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Giving yourself permission to become calm, relaxed, tranquil. And now, letting go of this, eyes closed, focus on your heart. Our heart has been yearning, aching to connect with us. As you always do, if it pleases you, take one hand or both hands, put it over the heart and feel your heart. Feel the rhythm of the heart, the beat of the heart. Allah is the heartbeat within the heartbeat. Connect with that. And then, through the heart, listen to this beautiful revelation, which I've mentioned in the sermon, where Spirit says to each one of us, "Beloved one, I cannot be contained in the space of the earth. I cannot be contained in the space of the heavens, but I can be contained in the space of the pure, loving heart. Become aware the space of the heart is infinite, unbounded. Divine heart is inside human heart, and what lies between divine heart and human heart are all the layers of our ego that need to be softened, cleansed. Divine heart is inside human heart. This is a metaphor I like from Rumi, who says, the radiance of the moon fills the east and west. The radiance of the moon fills the east and the west. But of what use is it if the window of the heart is closed? Rumi goes on, please, he says, I beg you, open the window of your heart. The moon will kiss you only through the window. Open the window of your heart. The moon will kiss you only through the window. So one way to open the window is tell your heart, tell the boundless space in the heart, tell your human heart and tell the divine heart, I love you. Say it with feeling. No matter how awkward it might feel, I love you. Or please help me to love you. I love you. Please help me to love you. You can go on. Thank you. I am so grateful. Thank you. I am so grateful. You can carry on even more. Please help me. Help me. I need help. I really need help. Whatever you say is perfect, because it comes from your human heart, articulated to divine heart, who is most compassionate, most loving. And now put your hands down if you're touching your heart, and as you focus on the heart, make an intention to practice this in your meditation and waking hours, to send light and love pouring out of your heart. You see, you'll feel it palpably. You'll actually experience the sensation with practice. But for now, pouring out light and love from the heart, from this endless source. And the more you pour out, the more you become filled up with. It's a law, ancient and inexhaustible, pouring out light and love. and letting go of everything as I do a chant, coming into awareness. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. One more time. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. My dear friends, as you open your eyes, let's thank our beautiful musicians who are sitting right here, Brigitte and Phil. Let's go like this to them. They have always been so gracious in being so generous in offering their music.
Okay.
So we're going to do a sing-along, speaking of the heart. And I know Jamal speaks German. I understand it. I miss you. So the chorus, there is a chorus, and you have a job to do, and it's yeah, 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 yeah. That's your part. And if you have a neighbor with an arm, you can practice your Schunkeln for Oktoberfest too. But it speaks about the heart. You lie in my heart, you don't know how dear you are to me. So I think it's quite apropos for this topic today. And Jamal always, every service he talks about loving your heart. And it's the same theme. And I appreciate that about you, Jamal. So how about thank you to Jamal for always reminding us of our heart. And he had a birthday this week, I think. So, yeah, right. So that's just like an intro, so we have an intro here.
Leg's mir im Herzen, leg's mir im Sinn, du machst mir viel Schmerzen, weiß nicht wie gut ich bin. Ja. Wünscht ich so gerne, dass uns die Liebe vereint. Ja, 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 dass uns die Liebe vereint. Ja, 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 dass uns die Liebe vereint.
May love unite us all. Dass uns die Liebe vereint. Thank you. Happy birthday, Jamal.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm getting younger and younger, oh my God, but my hair is getting whiter and whiter, but that's, thank you. So my friends, this is time now for sharing our wealth. Sally Jo is not here, she's not feeling well. Brother Zach, could you come and help me with these? We're always deeply grateful for any sharing, any offering.
I have something to mention. I
Yes,
don't know if
yes.
I should hear, but a day of the accordion is coming up next week.
Oh, you have mic here?
Yeah. It's on. It's on.
And keep some of your money for this wonderful Turkish program here, but in a few minutes I'll have.
Come see me afterwards if you're interested more about accordion happenings.
What was that?
Oh, you
This is yours.
okay. 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 Okay.
So, my friends, thank you so much for your gracious contributions. Before I have my sister Bilgan say a few words, I'll have Reverend Karen read the critical charter of compassion.
So we have some upcoming gatherings we'll talk about in a moment. So Bill Gahan, I'll invite you to talk about an upcoming gathering in a minute. But we are going to read the Charter for Compassion. Are you familiar with the Charter for Compassion? It's been around for about 10 years. It was created by Karen Armstrong, a previous nun who became a scholar about interfaith. And 10 years ago, she invited the world to help her talk about compassion. And she created these 4 paragraphs. Not only she, but the world did. But the world contributed in a year-long conversation and created the Charter for Compassion. So we're going to read it now. The Charter for Compassion. The principle of compassion lies at the heart of all religious, ethical, and spiritual traditions, calling us always to treat all others as we wish to be treated ourselves. Compassion impels us to work tirelessly to alleviate the suffering of our fellow creatures, to dethrone ourselves from the center of our world and put another there, and to honor the inviolable sanctity of every single human being, treating everybody without exception with absolute justice, equity, and respect. It is also necessary in both public and private life to refrain consistently and empathically from inflicting pain, to act or speak violently out of spite, chauvinism, or self-interest, to impoverish, exploit, or deny basic rights to anybody, and to incite hatred by denigrating others, even our enemies, is a denial of our common humanity. We acknowledge that we have failed to live compassionately, and that some have even increased the sum of human misery in the name of religion. We therefore call upon all men and women to restore compassion to the center of morality and religion, to return to the ancient principle that any interpretation of Scripture that breeds violence, hatred, or disdain is illegitimate, to ensure that youth are given accurate and respectful information about other traditions, religions, and cultures, to encourage a positive appreciation of cultural and religious diversity, and to cultivate an informed empathy with the suffering of all human beings, even those regarded as enemies. We urgently need to make compassion a clear, luminous, and dynamic force in our polarized world, rooted in the principled determination to transcend selfishness. Compassion can break down political, dogmatic, ideological, and religious boundaries. Born of our deep interdependence, compassion is essential to human relationships and to a fulfilled humanity. It is the path to enlightenment, indispensable to the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Bilgehan. I think I know half of you, maybe. Sorry, I'm a little tall.
I wish I was tall too.
I am from Turkey, and so is my friend Dilek here, and we've been putting our heads together, and we're very thankful. Everyone here also has been helping us, Karen and Jamal, in our efforts to try to collect funds for people. And we have a few things coming up. So we have a table. We had a lot of things donated from local artists too, and especially also Turkish artists. They are directly donated to earthquake survivors, and there's an organization that we personally know. Like we're in WhatsApp group and constantly coming up with ways how we can support it. There is a link. They partnered up with a fund, U.S.-based fund, so it's tax donation, tax-deductible donation is possible. Any items that you like, you can please take a look at it. There is a few things coming up. Karen, may I mention the concert? So as I see it here, so next Saturday there is a benefit concert here at ICS. There are wonderful people. Someone from Seattle Symphony will be playing cello. Then we have a Japanese, if I'm saying it wrong, Estafrullah Shakurachi, and some Sufi music and some other wonderful music will be here. It's on the ICS website and also here, and it's also directly there are two different funds you can donate to. That one goes directly to Turkey, the other one for Syria. Either one is great. You just make your donation, send your receipt as your ticket. That's next Saturday. Doors open at 5:30, and then we'll have some great Turkish food downstairs and some other items for donation based as well. And then the week after Saturday, there is a yoga class by an international yoga instructor. She's also Turkish, and all funds again are directly donated, so that's your donation is your ticket. That's also on the website. So anything you can do to support, thank you for having us and giving us the space, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Bilgehan, and your wonderful circle of love of Turkish friends. Some of our people are missing today who talk about upcoming gatherings, but it's all on the website, right, Karen? On the Interfaith Community Sanctuary website. Come in, yeah. Oh, I see, yes. So as you know, every year we have this fantastic program that really has attracted almost worldwide attention, the Peace Camp International. And we link up with the wonderful orphanage and shelter for women in India called Maher, and also with beautiful, powerful meaning in the sense of the fantastic work they're doing, orphanages and schools in Uganda. And we have counselors coming from those countries, and it's a beautiful program. It's in July. Okay, so that's Peace Camp. Keep an eye out for that. And we have a multitude of programs. We love to boast, but there's so many, it'll take too much time. They're all on the website of Interfaith Community Sanctuary. Okay, my friends, we'll bring it to a close. I do want to thank those wonderful people who are watching, maybe hopefully in the pajamas or non-pajamas, relaxed at home. But God bless you. Thank you for using this incredible service of the cyberspace internet. But if you want to come here sometimes, please feel free. Yeah, our lifestyle, yeah. Oh, and we thank those wonderful people out there who are taking such good care of the live stream, and about which I know so little, but that's good. Was there anything else, Reverend Karen? Okay, so anything you wanted to say or do?
No, we have another tune. But
Okay, another tune. Let's have music, okay.
this is called Huskukia, which means, what does it mean, Philip?
Yes, I think it has to do with.
Kukia means flower, and I think it's the rose flower.
I'm not sure, but Ruskukia. Kukia means flower in Finnish.
I don't know what was Russian flower, maybe.
I don't know. I don't think.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you. So once again, we thank our wonderful friends in cyberspace. Please know your presence has been truly a blessing. And as you also know, the real service starts downstairs, fellowship over food and drink. You know, I've said this many times, in all these international conferences, the real learning comes not from the presentations, but during the coffee breaks and the lunch breaks. So the real service is actually downstairs. So a great gratitude to all those people watching live stream, and to those who are here. Let's do a closing blessing. I think the words on the back of your flyer. I am blessed by your presence, O Lord. Take a deep breath. I am filled with your blessings, Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah. One more time. I am blessed by your presence, O Lord. Deep breath. I am filled with your blessings, Allah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ya Allah. Becoming very still,